military budget.
All right.
I know you're a big fan of it. Do you go through it line by line? You are a congressman.
Yes, we go through it line by line.
And you think, because a lot of, I read it line by line, and a lot of the stuff, the Pentagon asks for, like, we want 70 planes. Right. That's what the Pentagon is asking for, and Congress gives them 90. Mm-hmm. Isn't that socialism when you're just making things just to give jobs to people?
No, because that's not why we're doing it.
Well, but wait, the Pentagon.
Let me give you an example.
What? Congress is giving more than the Pentagon is asking.
Let me give you a great example. In the late 90s, the Air Force did not want this crazy thing called an unmanned aerial vehicle. Why would pilots who run the Air Force want an unmanned aerial vehicle? So they said no. Congress said you're going to have it. It's the future. And they foisted the Predator unmanned aerial vehicle on the Air Force. We made them take it. So that's an example of how you're in the military, so you're in the box, and you have no other perspective but that military perspective. That's why we have civilian control of the military. That's why we have a Congress. That's why you have secretaries, and you don't have generals running things, but a civilian as the president and a civilian as the
So the Congress knows better than the Pentagon what the Pentagon needs.
On some things. Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you one, too. We have one icebreaker, that breaks ice, right? That's important for the Arctic. We have one. The Russians have 45. The military doesn't always do the acquisition stuff very well because they only do 2 years at a time.
They're a northern country. We're not at the North Pole.
We are.
Yeah.
We're an Arctic nation. Yeah.
Okay. But in the first 6 months of this year, the national debt went up to $1 trillion, and of course on Fox News they're saying, "Wait till the Republicans take over, that'll end." How do you explain this? I mean, you guys run on fiscal sanity and how everybody else is a spender, but then when you get into office, the money just flies out the window.
So here's what happened on this. It's pretty simple. You had just under 4 times the deaths last calendar year, 2017, January through December. You had almost 4 times as many deaths training in the military than in combat. You had 23 or so combat deaths, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Philippines, places all over where we have people. You had over 80 training deaths here in the continental United States. That's crazy. The Defense Department was chronically underfunded for 8 years under Obama, period. And you had massive training casualties now that showed how bad the equipment was, especially the airplanes, because all the good stuff's going forward and all the training stuff is getting worse and worse and worse, right? So we had to plus up the defense budget. Okay. And in order to get that past the Senate, that giant budget that was not funded to vote for except for the military part, that was what we had to do. And that's what I had to do.
So it was to save lives?
Yeah. It was for the military part of the budget, yeah. The Senate exacts a very high cost to get anything done. Otherwise, they'll do nothing. Yeah. The Senate does nothing anyway.
I hate to tell you, the budget could be $1 zillion, which it probably will be next year. There still will be training deaths.
But not as many. This was getting pretty massive. You had a massive spike in training deaths due to a lower budget.